The first time it happened, Sam thought it was just a nightmare, a weird, vivid one. He'd been asleep for maybe 3 hours when his body jerked upright cold sweat dripping down his neck, his heart pounding like it was trying to break out of his chest. And then, the words. They poured from his mouth like water from a broken pipe. A strange, flowing chant, low, guttural, and ancient. The voice didn't sound like his, deeper, hollow. Libera me, Domini, de morte eterna. Sam clutched his bedsheets, confused, terrified. The words meant nothing to him. Yet they came naturally, fluidly. He didn't even take Latin in school. The clock glowed in red from his nightstand. 3:33 a.m. He didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, he had convinced himself it was a stress dream. Maybe he'd heard something on TV. Maybe his brain just needed to dump garbage into his dreams. That's what dreams were, right? Garbage sorting, but it happened again and again. Each night, the same pattern. At 3:33 a.m., his eyes would snap open and the same awful language spilled out. His voice echoing in the dark, always starting with the same phrase. Libera me, Domini. His phone recordings confirmed it. He played one back the third night, volume low, so his roommate wouldn't hear. The voice was his, but it didn't sound like him. It sounded older, possessed. He Googled the phrase. It was Latin, of course. From a Catholic prayer, deliver me, O Lord, from eternal death. The words chilled him, not just because of their meaning, but because every night they grew more desperate. The prayer got longer, more intense, and the crying was worse. He always woke up sobbing huge, dry gasps between the phrases, like his soul was cracking open, but he didn't feel sad. It wasn't grief, it was terror. By the fifth night, Sam stopped trying to sleep. He stayed awake with the lights on, drinking coffee, scrolling through forums on sleep paralysis and night terrors. Most of the posts were about shadow people or waking up unable to move. No one mentioned chanting in Latin until he found a thread titled The 333 Curse. It only had a few replies. The original poster's account was deleted, but the story was eerily similar, waking up every night at 3:33 a.m. Speaking Latin, crying, visions. One reply stood out. A user named that Verdomina wrote, if you're speaking Latin and crying at 3:33, you've already been marked. You need to find the origin. Look into your bloodline. The warnings always begin this way. Don't wait too long. Marked? For what? Sam scoffed and closed his laptop. Internet freaks? He needed real answers? Maybe a sleep study? Maybe therapy. But deep down, the pit in his stomach was growing. Something didn't feel like a dream anymore. The next night, he fell asleep by accident, exhaustion won. And that was the night everything changed. He opened his eyes at 3:33 a.m., already mid-sentence in Latin. This time, his body wasn't under his control. He stood up, walked to the mirror, still chanting. His face pale, wet with tears, his eyes completely black. He stared at himself as the final words escaped his mouth. Et lux perpetua lucid eyes. Let perpetual light shine upon them. Then silence. Behind him, the door creaked open, slowly. No one was there. He turned to look, and there, in the hallway, stood a figure. Just the outline of a woman in a dark veil. Her hands were folded in prayer, but her head was tilted at an impossible angle. She whispered, "Don't forget who you are." Sam screamed, and everything went black. He woke up at 7:12 His mouth was dry. His hands were shaking. The clock blinked. His phone was on the floor. His bathroom mirror was cracked, a perfect line through the center of his reflection. He didn't remember shattering it. But one thing was clear: this wasn't just a dream anymore. It was a message. A warning. Sam didn't go to work that day. He called in sick and sat on the floor of his apartment for hours, staring at the broken bathroom mirror. His reflection seemed off, eyes too wide, face too pale. He hadn't been eating, hadn't been sleeping. And now he was seeing things. He replayed the voice in his head, "Don't forget who you are." The woman's words were as cold as ice water down his spine. But it wasn't just what she said. It was the way she looked at him, like she knew him, like she'd been waiting. He pulled out his laptop and reopened the forum. Advertomina's post was still there. He created an account just to message them. "I think I'm marked. It started 5 nights ago. Latin, crying, 3:33. Please, what do I do?" No response. He checked the time. 2:11 p.m. The sun was out. Everything looked normal, but he couldn't shake the dread crawling beneath his skin. He went to his bookshelf and dug out his grandmother's old leather-bound Bible. She used to read it every day. When she died, it was the only thing he asked to keep. As he flipped through it, a yellowed paper slipped out. It wasn't in English, Latin again. But one line stood out, one he recognized from his night terrors, "Liber me Domini de morte eterna." He compared the handwriting to the Bible's inscription. It matched. His grandmother had written it, but why? He called his mom. Did Grandma ever speak Latin? There was silence on the other end. Then a hesitant, "Where is this coming from?" "Just did she?" His mother exhaled. "She studied it, I think. A long time ago, but she never liked to talk about it. Said it was not hers to use." Not hers to, what does that even mean? I don't know. But she used to wake up crying sometimes too. Around the same time. She said something followed her family long before she was born. Sam froze. She called it the mourner. That night, Sam didn't try to stay awake. He wanted to face it, whatever it was. So when 3:33 a.m. came, and the cold slid into the room like smoke, he sat upright, eyes wide, mouth open, chanting. This time, he understood the words. Not fully, but enough to feel them. They weren't just prayers, they were beggings. Pleas for mercy, for release. As his tears fell, a sharp static rose in the air. The mirror across from him fogged up, though the room was cold. And there she was again, the woman in the veil. Her face was clearer this time, hollow eyes, stitched mouth. Her hands were bruised from decades of folded prayer. Sam whispered, "Who are you?" She didn't speak, she showed. In a flash, he saw visions. A girl buried alive in a monastery crypt. Latin scrawled across stone walls in blood. A priest sealing a door with burning wax. Generations of silence. Then his grandmother, young, terrified, pulling a Latin book from a hidden drawer. And then Sam chanting beside a grave marked only by Roman numerals. 13-3. CCCXXA. March 13th, 33. The woman finally spoke. Her mouth didn't move, but her voice cracked through his skull like thunder. "You are the end of what they buried, and the beginning of what they feared." He screamed, his throat tore, and then he woke up. It was 6:04 a.m., but this time something came with him. He smelled myrrh. There was a trail of black ash leading from his bed to the window. He followed it with trembling hands. It stopped beneath the window pane where one word was burned into the wood. Venet. He looked it up. "He has come?" Sam didn't leave his apartment the next day. He couldn't. Every noise sounded like a whisper. Every shadow looked like the mourner waiting to step out. He had only one goal now, find the grave. The one from the vision? 13-3 MCCCXXX. March 13th, 33. He looked through old church records online. Burials, cursed tombs, forgotten monasteries. Hours passed. And then he found it. A monastery in France destroyed during the Black Plague. It was founded in the early 1300s and abandoned in 33 after what locals called Le Cri de la Nuit, the scream in the night. Legends claimed a nun had been entombed alive for speaking in tongues, crying in dead languages. She was said to have summoned the devil through nightly prayers. The church tried to erase her, but the name survived in the margins of a handwritten document, Domina Tenebris. The Lady of Darkness? Sam sat back in his chair, heart racing. He didn't believe in demons, not really, but now he wasn't sure. That night, the ritual returned with more force than ever. At exactly 3:33 a.m., he shot upright. This time he didn't cry, he screamed. Blood dripped from his nose. And the Latin came like a flood, not chanting, now arguing. Two voices inside him, his own and something older. Domini audivos meum, Lord, hear my voice. Tacit reus. Illa non habla visitor. Silence, sinner, she will not forget. His body convulsed. He saw the mourner in the mirror again, this time standing behind him. Her stitched mouth had torn open, bleeding. She raised a hand, pointing at his chest. He looked down. A symbol had appeared there, burned into his skin, right over his heart. A circle of thorns with 13 drops of blood. He screamed himself awake. When morning came, the mark was still there. He was being claimed. Later that day, his phone buzzed. A new message. From Advertomina. You must finish the 13th prayer. Only then can she pass. Otherwise, she take you, like she took the others. Sam replied instantly. Where do I find it? No response. He called his mom again. Did Grandma ever mention the 13th prayer? Another silence, then. Why are you asking these things, Sam? She left a Latin prayer in her Bible. She spoke in her sleep. She was haunted, wasn't she? A long pause. Sam, before she died, she told me never to let you touch that book. His skin went cold. She said the curse skips generations, that it always comes back for the bloodline. She was hoping it would end with her, but it didn't. No, his mother whispered. It chose you. That night he didn't sleep. Instead, he sat in a salt circle, candles lit, the Bible in his lap. And at 3:33 a.m., he opened it. His hands turned the pages without thought, as if guided. Near the back, taped to a blank page, was a folded piece of paper, old, fragile. It read, "The 13th prayer." He began reading aloud. The words hurt to speak. His mouth burned, his ears rang. The air around him thickened like water pressing in, and then a scream. Not his, a woman's. She burst from the mirror, crawling out like smoke, her face no longer veiled. Her eyes were hollow pits of sorrow. Her mouth moved, matching his words. She wasn't angry. She was pleading, begging to be released. And as he reached the final line of the prayer, Et in pace requiescat anima eias, and may her soul rest in peace, she collapsed into ash. The candles blew out. Silence. He checked the clock. 3:34 a.m. For the first time in over a week, he didn't cry. He didn't chant. He didn't scream. Just silence. But peace wasn't what he felt, because the ash on the floor was moving, shaping into new words. Non sola erat. She was not alone. The ash didn't stay still. Sam watched it curl across the wooden floor, forming letter by letter. Latin again. Non sola erat. She was not alone. His heart dropped. He had believed the 13th prayer was the end, her release. But now it felt more like a key. A door opened, not shut. He ran to the mirror, the same one she always came through, but it was clean now. No fog. No figure, just him. And yet, something about his reflection felt off. The mark on his chest pulsed faintly under his shirt like it had a heartbeat of its own. That night, he didn't light the candles. No salt circle, no prayers. He sat in silence, waiting. The clock ticked toward 3:33, and at the very moment it struck, nothing happened. No chanting, no Latin, no tears, just quiet. He exhaled. Maybe it really was over. But then, a soft knock at his door, 3 slow taps. He stared at it. His apartment building didn't allow visitors after midnight, and he hadn't buzzed anyone in. He checked the peephole. No one, another knock, but this time from behind him. The bathroom door, his breath caught. He turned slowly, walked toward it. The doorknob was cold, ice cold. He opened it. The mirror was fogged again. A handprint smeared across the glass, but this one was smaller. Delicate. Not the mourner. Something else. And then his phone buzzed, at Verdomina again. You only released one. There are 12 more, each silenced. Each waiting. Sam dropped the phone. His stomach turned to stone. The 13th prayer. It didn't just free the mourner. It activated the curse. They had been held bound for centuries. But now the chain was broken. He remembered the vision, the sealed door in the monastery. 13 voices scratching from the other side. He'd only heard one. Over the next few nights, the dreams returned. Not with crying, but whispers, each one in a different voice. Different dialects. Different faces in the mirror, women, children, monks, soldiers, all with the same mark. All waking at 3:33 a.m., one night he found writing on his ceiling, burned in soot. Et sequuntur eam, and they follow him. Sam knew he couldn't stay. He packed a bag, grabbed the Bible, and left. But it didn't help. No matter where he slept, the time was always the same, no matter what city, no matter what time zone. 3 to 33? He traveled to churches, monasteries, spoke with exorcists. One priest listened, quiet, and then said, "You didn't inherit a curse, you awakened an order. These aren't hauntings, they're rituals, and you are the vessel." Sam begged for help. The priest shook his head. "You don't need deliverance. You need to finish what your bloodline began." "What did they begin?" Sam asked. The priest stood slowly. "They buried 13 souls, but only 12 remain. Now Sam stays on the move. He sleeps with cameras recording. Salt by every door, candles ready, and each night another voice arrives. He documents them one by one, names he doesn't recognize. Visions of deaths that aren't his, places he's never seen. But somehow he remembers them, feels them, like they were always part of him. The 13th prayer was just the beginning. The other 12 are coming, and Sam, he's not just marked. He's becoming something else, not cursed, not haunted, but chosen. The vessel for the lost, the 13th voice, the clock reads 3:32, he waits. He's not afraid anymore, because this time he understands the Latin and he's ready to speak. If you've stayed until the end, tell us below. Do you think Sam freed the dead, or invited something darker? And what would you do if you woke up crying in a language you've never learned? Like comment and sleep? Carefully,